Welcome to the B-Scar TV podcast, the home of high-quality conversation. And we're back with another episode of B-Scar TV, and I have a very, very special guest today, Mr. Ndamukong Suh, a.k.a. Sue, a.k.a. Damo. How we doing, man?
I'm great, boss. How are you?
Amazing. We are in a new setting here. We're at the treehouse in the sunken living room.
I mean, I've never been to the treehouse. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, man. This is the crib. We have shoes and socks off. I got some slippers. You got socks?
Yeah, I got my Nike socks on. I don't want to disrespect the carpet. Didn't bring my kids. Make sure they didn't terrorize your home.
I appreciate that. I mean, let's just lay some context here. 13 seasons in the NFL, going on 14. 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 seasons. Future gold jacket. I mean, the list of accomplishments are endless. And I was thinking earlier, it's about how long you've been playing, and think about how that playlist has evolved in the pregame playlist.
Yeah, the pregame.
Is there one song that you've been listening to
all the way through? Nah, not one all the way through, but there's definitely a consistent vibe of artists that I stick with, and I'm sure you already know who one of those are.
Talk to us.
You say I have a crush on her, but I don't.
No, you're just a groupie.
Yeah, I'm a groupie, which is very far from the truth, but it is what it is. Rihanna's pretty consistent on that playlist as of late, where she doesn't have any much new music out. But her, Drake, Jay-Z, good mixture. But I don't know. My playlist has definitely evolved over the years. A lot more slow R&B than that upbeat stuff.
Yeah. No, I feel that, man. I get a lot of shit from you every morning when we train, and I try to put together my playlist, and it's a never-ending pursuit to satisfy you and your taste. But every time I put the Rihanna radio on, I always get some good feedback.
Yeah, there's a pep in my step. There's just something about that music, and I think it's the Caribbean vibes that I just float so well with. But I mean, it never fails to amaze me how versatile you are with your music. So I'll give you credit there. And Keith has mentioned this before, our performance director, that the wide range makes people comfortable in bringing them into our place, especially when there's so many other Nike workers around us.
Yeah. Trying to make everybody feel comfortable. Speaking of Caribbean vibes, we got our high quality contents here, provided by Culture Pop.
Fire, just amazing. The mango line.
Caribbean vibes.
Cheers,
brother. I would love to dig in a little bit just around high performance and consistent high performance over the years, and how you've been able to, year after year, just come with it, man, and consistently dominate on the field. And obviously I've been with you training since after my rookie year, been training every morning with you. So I've seen some of your process, but maybe for listeners out there, just giving them an idea of, what does it take to do everything that you've done?
It's interesting. Great question. Just from the simple fact that I think it's, like you said, a process, and it's ebbs and flows to that every single year. It's finding different nuances, finding that 1% or 0.5%, depending on where you're at in your career. But then also just having an amazing team, and that includes you from training mates to performance directors to people that bring you up, and you can actually have good conversations. Because I think a lot of people miss out on the psychological and comfort level of that growth over the years, and being able to go through those tough times and those unexpected viewpoints of getting other people's perspectives. Also saying, like, all right, we were on the road some years, back to back, trying to figure out what team I'm going to go to, whether it's LA, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, whatever it may be. Being able to get other people's perspectives and not just kind of having that tunnel vision goes all into that hard work that you put in the lab, where it's obviously you got great programs, you're executing first thing in the morning, knowing how to take care of your body, having physical therapy, naturopath, everything from A to Z when it comes to medical side of stuff, and just understanding it and fine-tuning those different pieces in your body. So I think as you've grown and I've grown in the space, we're always trying to find those new things or different ways to add a modality here or add something in there that can take you to the next level. Because I think everybody works hard to some extent, maybe not as hard as we do and as consistent, but everybody puts in some form of work. It's finding those other things that give you that edge, whether it's, you could look at supplements, you could look at training protocols, but it's all about that person stringing that all together and then also knowing how to pick and choose the right times to use the different pieces. So
yeah,
it's a collective piece all together that comes into hopefully one special thing. And this shit, at the end of the day, it's luck.
Yeah.
You gotta find some luck in there to not deal with injuries or deal with them in the off season, and having 10 other guys that are on the same page as you, let alone on one side of the ball, the other side of the ball, a whole nother 11 set of guys, and then bringing a team together.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting piece is the luck portion of what it takes to, perform at a high level in this league and really just stick in the league, right? And what I've learned over my years from you is like the controllables, the things that you can control, really making sure that you maximize those. And you mentioned having a team. I quickly learned that the team that you play for is just one piece of the equation.
It's 1%.
1%
at most.
It's about your team that you have, your personal team.
Yeah.
Right. And so I basically have adopted your team, and I have other pieces, right, that I've added, but the core piece I've adopted from you. How were you able to, source your team, number one, and also how did you know that they were the right people to have in your circle?
Back in 2010-11, after my first year in the league, we went into that lockout, which then opened me up to a whole different way of doing things, because you didn't have the resources. You didn't have to go to OTAs. You didn't have to go to mini camps. You didn't have to do any of those different things, because going through our CBA negotiation, and I luckily got to know Keith, and shoot, I was super weary at the very beginning. Like, one, I don't even know you. Two, you're showing me something that is totally contradictory to
right.
normal training of what I grew up in high school and in college and whatnot. And so I think the piece that allowed me to say this was the right decision is, one, taking a leap of faith, and then two, actually getting educated in that space. He could speak and tell me in layman's terms why we were doing certain things, versus most strength coaches or most performance coaches are saying, you do this because I'm the expert and this is what it's going to be, to where I've always been an inquisitive person of wanting to understand, like, why.
Right.
And if you can't give me a why, I don't have any, you don't have anything for me. So with Keith being able to do that, and then me having eventually having a good amount of trust with him, and that evolving into a friendship, now we're like family and whatnot, it has allowed me to say, all right, anything he says, I pretty much don't have to triple check. I'll double check.
Yeah.
And still ask the why, but I don't need to triple check, because I know he has his best interest, or my best interest, in his heart from that standpoint. So that's how I got through the first piece of building that team, and then truthfully understanding how the league and organizations work. If you're a high-level guy or a medium-level guy, they want to help you, but they're not going to put all the resources around you. And some of those resources that are afforded to the team that you get from the team aren't even of quality. And so when I first got to Detroit, loved the city, but that organization was probably one of the worst organizations for a young person to come into, because I had more access to successes and different ways of taking care of my body in college at Nebraska than I had at Detroit.
Damn.
So you've got great, two big organizations, but one's a real money-making billion-dollar organization. And yes, Nebraska's not poor by any means, but how do I have more tools and people better off? Where then again, I had another guy that was a performance director there, athletic trainer too, that came from the league. It was like, this is what the league should look like.
Gotcha.
Versus it being something totally opposite and basically bare bones. So
Right.
that's how I started to realize I got to not rely on my team that I'm playing for. I got to start to build something outside if I want to play for 10 years. And that's always been my goal, play 10 years, right off into sunset, and then go from there. And as I started to realize those different things, I couldn't rely on the teams. It was getting with Keith, finding that performance director, which he fit that role, then PT, which goes into the helping your body and maintaining those different particular pieces, and then finding other things that can help, blood work, all those different things, where the naturopath and all those different pieces come in from there. So it was an evolution, because I wouldn't say day one or year one it was there. I mean, probably year 3, 4, we had a pretty solid team together, but there was still some finite pieces we needed to mess around with and figure out, all right, do you need a massage therapist? Do you need the physical therapist? Do you need a combination of that? Chiropractor? There's all these different pieces that kind of come into their particular roles.
Yeah. And I think there's a misconception of the organizations having all of those support pieces and having everything that you need. I mean, I think that's obviously their job, is to try to figure out, how do we optimize the performance of our players. But I mean, you're only there in season. Maybe you stick around off season, but there's 90 guys on the roster when the season starts. It's whittled down to 53. There's only so much, unique tailoring to your needs, each individual player's needs, that they can do. I've seen with you and other great players around the league that it's their attention to detail outside of what's provided to everyone. And I think Keith D'Amelio, as you mentioned, shout out Keith, has, helped to provide a structure for you, helped provide a structure for me, and also the education of being able to understand, it's not all about how much weight you can lift, how much you could bench press, how much you could squat. The Olympic lifts are great, but how does your body move? These different movements, what's the, your mobility, your range of motion, these things, when you get into the game and your body's forced to, be in a certain position, has it been there before? Have you trained there before? And these things that I had no idea about, going into the league. I had a little bit of kind of pretext coming from Stanford and having Coach Turley, but nah, man, Keith has put me on to a lot, and I've learned a lot from your structure and how you've worked with them too.
Yeah, and just going back, like you're talking about those 90 guys, and you get to 53-man roster, and if you really look at it, that front half is really all the team really cares about at the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
And putting resources towards those different things. And then it goes to the top 3 to 6 guys on the team, quarterback, head defensive guy, head offensive guy outside of the quarterback, and things of that nature, to where everybody else then kind of has to fall into their own place. Not saying that there's not support there. It's just not going to be dialed in specifically for you. And if you want to reach that success of being able to be the best person you can be, you need to find some form or fashion of managing it yourself, understanding it, and then being able to say, all right, what resources can I use from the team? What resources do I have to go get on my own? And be able to marry those different things, because I think Tampa Bay has probably been the best example of a combination of that. I think they've got an amazing woman named MJ that I've been able to work with and do different things with, that's part of the team. But on the flip side, she only has so much time, and she has to be able to help all other 53 players, let alone still be able to work with the guys that may be injured or be on IR. So I don't get dedicated full time with her. No, I'm gonna push my weight around a little bit and make sure I got my hour or something like that within the day. But she's not fully dedicated to me. So being able to have that combination of things and then be able to work with not only somebody in-house in the team, but out of house, that's a part of my own core group.
Yeah. It's funny to say that, the front end of the roster or of that 53 are the ones that get the attention. You being a second round draft pick, myself, I got it out the mud, undrafted. Our treatment was a little bit different than what we were.
Yeah,
the resources and tools we've been given.
There's no doubt about that, and unfortunately, that's the hierarchy. But you can evolve and understand the game and say, all right, regardless of where I started, I'm going to be able to put myself in a position because I'm valuable to this team and to this organization to get to what I need.
Yeah, and I mean, even regardless of that, stature or kind of station that you had, you still, went out and sourced these other pieces and tools that have helped you become successful. So
yeah, and I think that just comes down to being able to say, I know 100% they're working for me and they have my best interest at heart. Where not saying the team doesn't, but you don't have to worry about it more or less because, for lack of better words, they're on your payroll.
I remember one of the best off seasons, I think, was either 2017 or 2018. One of the best off seasons of training because you mentioned it. We went on the road a few times, and we traveled, and you had business to attend to in different cities, and we hop on the PJ, me, you, Keith, Karan. And we would go to these cities. We'd train in the morning, attend the business meeting in the afternoon with you. And I remember, first of all, that was the first and last time I've been on a PJ was with you. But I remember mornings we're waking up at 4 a.m. because the business meeting starts at 8. So we need to be at the gym by 4:30 so we can be done by 6:30, showered and ready, and at the meeting by 8.
Yeah.
And that's one day out of the week, right? You could have easily been like, all right, we good. We're not going to train this morning. We're going to skip today. But no, there was this intent of, no, I'm going to bring not just my performance director, but I'm going to bring the whole team, and we're going to go and get this in the morning so we could then do our business. And man, I just really, I learned on those trips what it means to be a professional. And I think that you, with your just kind of process-oriented approach, you've shown what it means to be a professional, I think, more than, a lot of other guys that I've been around and have learned from.
Yeah, for me, honestly, it was fun.
It was fun.
It's a form of a tax write-off, too, for good reason, education and doing business and whatnot. But also, knowing that you guys are there, it's also forcing me to get up and making sure I'm on time. And obviously same thing with Keith and obviously those different particular pieces, but you want to try and grow outside, but at the same time maintain that same focus of how you got to some of these accesses and whatnot. So trying to replicate that and still have fun doing that, smacking y'all in spike ball as we did in LA. Montreal, we didn't get the chance to do it up there. I think it was maybe a different day where we didn't have spike ball.
What are you talking about, bro? You took so many L's on that road trip.
No, there's not.
You won spike ball maybe in UW when we had limited space in the weight room. That was probably the one win.
Now it's limited space?
There was limited space.
No. Me and Karan are winners, and it's okay. There was one summer where you and Keith had a nice little rally, and I think Karan was coming off injury, so we'll give an asterisk to that. Plus a little cheating, which we know is true in your guys' side of the game.
Bro, the lack of competition that was present in the last season that we played spike ball actually was the reason we no longer play. It's because we whooped y'all so bad every time we played that year.
I'm not going to say anything, but at the end of the day, certain folks didn't want to play because of certain reasons, and I would have to agree with a lot of them.
Name
them. I would have to agree with a lot of them being because of the unfair rulings that happened. It's just fact. It happens every single year. We moved to Honeyball, and we still have the same issues.
Yeah, we haven't seen that Honeyball. It didn't last long.
Yeah, you guys took that L and quit.
I wasn't a big fan of that game.
Yeah, exactly. But it's okay.
Yeah. Well, anyways, your process-oriented mentality, man, is the early mornings. I haven't been an early morning guy until I got with you, and now I'm trying to make the most of my mornings.
So much you can do. Wake up at 5:30, start the day, knock out the workout. You got everything else to accomplish in life. I just don't. I've never been able to sleep in from a standpoint and be okay with myself and say, I'm gonna wake up at 10 o'clock and work out at noon, and the day's over with, and then go from there.
Yeah.
The rest of the world doesn't work that way.
I've been there. I've been that guy before, and but I've seen both sides because I'm not typically a morning person. I'm a night person. I'm a night owl.
Okay.
I would rather my body naturally would rather sleep in till about 9:30. Get up, move at my own pace, work out whenever. But when we started training, it was 6 a.m. every morning. I was like, damn, it's tough, but there is so much more that you can do with your day.
When you have kids, I pray your kids sleep in. I pray for you that they sleep in.
Get that from their daddy, man.
Because my kids be up at 5 o'clock ready to go. Like, there's no warm up, no nothing. They're full throttle.
Wired.
Touching walls and everything. Maybe a little go dog go in there for 30 minutes or 20 minutes if you're lucky.
You said a little what?
Little go dog go. You'll
What's
learn
that?
about that. You'll learn about that.
What is Go Dog Go?
It's a cartoon that's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So I think Dr. Seuss created or something like that. So,
bro, Dr. Seuss been dead for so long, bro.
Hey, man.
It was not him.
It was. There's some correlation or connection there. Blippi, some of those things.
So Dr. Seuss had his hands in one of those.
Something. But regardless, the kids like it for like 15, 20 minutes. And then after that, it's to the third floor. It's outside, to the park, all that.
Golly. So. You say you work out in the morning, then you have the rest of the day to do all of these different things. For you, that means a lot of, it has a lot of meanings.
Yeah.
Because you're involved in real estate as an investor, you're a developer, construction, private investments. There's, a myriad of different things that you're doing. So turning kind of the focus away from sport for a second, how are you thinking about, business and building business and life off the field?
Something that I've always prided myself on, being more successful off the field than I was on the field, which is a big feat. But it's something I think that I have, let's just say I retire at 40, even though it'll probably be sooner than that. I've got a whole nother 20, 30 years. I'm 36. Relax.
Hey, that's right. Relax. 40 around the corner now.
It is around the corner.
You might be able to make
it. Probably got another 20, 30 years of like true work.
Yeah.
And from my standpoint, I want to be able to use my engineering degree that I graduated from at Nebraska, but then also have all these other aspirations to, one, help other people grow businesses and see their successes and be a part of those different things. And then I've always been married to real estate in some form or fashion, watching my parents grow up dealing with Section 8 housing, affordable housing in a lot of different manners, and then also market rate housing. It's always been fun and interesting to me. And so now being able to have not only the capital, but the brains around it and the resources, I think it's fun to be able to build those different things, working on different projects. I love food, being able to be in the hospitality space, creating different interesting concepts that people enjoy. And you go to a restaurant or go to your restaurant and people say, man, we love this food. Like, you need to do more of this or need to do more of that, and things of that nature. So that's always exciting. And I think that's kind of that competitive edge and rush that you get of dopamine, like being successful and being able to, all right, I got a sack, but also at the same time, I turned around and I just gave somebody the most amazing cinnamon roll that they've ever had in their life
right.
that people like will continue to come back for. So like having that correlation between those two, and then being able to also have your hands in those different things and be creative around that. So for me, it's wanting to continue to expand upon those different things and see how much I can grow in those spaces. And then I've always never wanted to be just considered as he's just a football player, he's a jock, and from that standpoint. So being, again, more successful off the field than I was on.
Yeah. I just read, and I actually shared the article with you, with Berkshire Hathaway making a big bet on construction companies, and we've actually had arguments around influence, and you're a big Warren Buffett guy.
I am.
I believe that Elon Musk is more influential than Warren Buffett. Controversial opinion.
Very controversial. I mean, I don't understand it, but to each their own
opinion. But Berkshire Hathaway, which Warren Buffett runs, has just invested a ton into construction stocks and is essentially betting on a housing boom. And you're deep into real estate. This is one of your mentors, one of the people that you look up to. Mm-hmm. How are you thinking about long-term big vision and real estate construction? How are you approaching that?
I think the one thing that our country needs more of is affordable housing. I think the majority of our country sits with the everyday person who even has a great 9-to-5 or entrepreneur in all those different particular spaces, not being the 1%. They sit in 60, 70%, 100% AMI, average and medium income. And that is really where our affordable bubble is, and where we don't have enough housing for that. And that separation is getting larger and larger and larger. And until we start to find a way to chip away at that and collectively come together, and there's a lot of bills and a lot of different things that have come out for that. But affordable housing is one of the most expensive propositions in real estate. And I don't know if that's because it's subsidized in so many different spaces, which is kind of counterintuitive. You would think it being subsidized would be cheaper, but there's so many different aspects that go into it. So I've always wanted to get into that particular space to be able to help people get into housing and be a part of solving that problem. And I think that's where some of these different spaces and these companies that Warren has gotten into, you see they're in that market where it's more of an affordable rate of home where it's in that $350,000 up to $700,000-$800,000, that starter home for folks from that standpoint. So I think that's where it's important to be able to be a part of that from a development standpoint, but also on the construction side of things.
Do you see affordable housing growing more? Will housing get more affordable because it grows closer into the middle of the country, away from the coasts? Like I've seen, I don't know if this is like a recent trend or this is something that there's been a pattern over time, but I feel like cities like, Nashville, Denver, smaller cities like Ogden and Utah, Boise, Idaho have just seen like massive booms of population growth, and obviously people moving from, like we're on the West Coast, California and Portland, and moving to Boise, Idaho, and just experiencing like a much cheaper cost of living. Do you see that happening, or do you see it more kind of affordable housing being able to be found here in the cities?
I think there's a combination of it, but I think especially during the pandemic, it opened up people to move to different areas of the world and the country to be able to find something that's pleasant for them, because they got to be able to work from home and work remotely. And so talking about the Boise, Idahos, the Sun Belt, down in the South, and talk about Nashville. Like Nashville is a massive, obviously music, but also food. Yeah. And but it's getting expensive down there now because so many people have moved down there, and the influx of folks just in general wanting to be in that particular area. So I think there's going to be a give and take, and I think you also even see the trends of where people moved out to suburbia and out of the urban core, but now they're starting to come back because it's cheaper. So I think there's always cycles of how people move and shake and from these different particular spaces. And Portland's probably one of the greatest examples of saying that, all right, a town that was booming, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s and the early 2010s, or mid 2010s, to where then a lot of people moved out of the city, and especially during the pandemic. Everybody wants to be out and spread out into whether it's farmland or suburban where you got more space and land, but then now you start to see a trend where people are starting to come back and moving away from that. So it's like finding that balance of being able to do both, and be able to have supply on both sides is going to be key.
I got big bets on Portland, man.
I got huge bets on Portland. I mean, I think people, for whatever reason, we have a huge bad rep during the pandemic. And
2020 was terrible.
19, 20, 21, even as recent as 22.
Yeah.
It's just, everybody's just, for lack of a better word, shitted on the city.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, as an investor and somebody who loves the city and who lives here part of the year, you see things differently. And when people actually come from, whether it's New York or LA or all these other areas, and they're like, wow, reading the stories and reading the articles and seeing the news, it's almost nothing like it. Yeah, you got little pockets here and there of it being true, especially with the homelessness, which we've embraced as a city anyways. But they're pleasantly surprised, and especially when I sit on some of these investor calls with folks in my team, like they're like, we see what you see now. Now
Yeah.
we've actually taken a visit here. So
Very high quality of life. And I, as the rest of the country's been roasting this summer, Portland's been solid. This week's a little hot.
Yeah, except for these last 3 days.
Yeah,
These last 2 days have been a beast. Like, I'm out there. My mom's in Boston. It's nice and cool. And she got me out there at 9 o'clock at night watering blueberries. So, yeah, this heat's not cool.
No, it's it definitely has been hot, but I mean the rest of the country, as the earth gets hotter, I think the Pacific Northwest is going to be a place where a lot of people find themselves in the summer times.
There's no doubt about that, because I mean, I can imagine being in Arizona right now.
Oh, bro.
120.
I mean, you can't be outside. You can't spend time outside
at all. Houston, like, I'm happy for my fam getting the head coaching job down there, but I will not be down there in the summer by any means. I got other friends and family down there in the summer. I'll come see you in the fall.
Yeah. You go to a Rockets game.
Yeah.
Shout out Ime. We'll be right back after this bathroom break. This man just pulled up on the track. This man just pulled up right beneath the scoreboard. Bro, that is not the parking lot, bro.
I ain't never been on the west side. So I followed the location map that said to pull up.
That's not even a street. That's a jogging path. And we're back from a little bathroom break where I was pleasantly reminded that you were the second overall pick.
Yeah, I mean,
which is what I knew that.
You knew that, but you just misspoke. So it's cool. I knew you knew it, but I wanted to let you slide. I didn't want to blast you. That. I didn't want to blast you. And then, I mean, second overall pick is cool. I should have been first. That's what really had me hot.
Who went first before you?
Bum, but I mean.
Who was that? It was a quarterback, huh?
What's his name?
Oklahoma?
Sam Bradford.
Yeah. What is Sam Bradford's doing these days? Commentating?
Chilling. He talking about somebody who hit licks in the league. Oh my God.
I mean, after you guys got drafted, didn't they wrote it in that rookies couldn't get paid that much? Or was that DeMarcus? DeMarcus Russell.
No. We were the last draft class that, I guess, I don't know if you want to say uncapped or whatever from negotiations, but yeah, we had we were the last class. 2010 class was the last class to have that kind of uncapped rookie salary.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it, man. It was strategic. I almost came out the year before because they were talking about ending it, so it was a little strategic.
You've hit a couple licks over your career too, man.
I've been fortunate. I've worked hard for my dollars and improving my worth and like to continue to prove my worth throughout my playing career.
Yeah, no doubt. We kind of went from this talking about sports and then talking about business and all the things that you're doing, off the field. I'm curious to know from you how you've been able to integrate the two, and maybe starting with, what have you been able to learn from sport that has helped to elevate your approach to business and endeavors off the field?
Yeah, the integration's been a lot of fun. And I think I've been very shy early on in my career about it because I was doing it in 2010, sitting in mentors, now close friends, offices, learning and trying to understand different business pieces, doing internships and things of that nature. But when it comes to like that cross-pollination between the two, we talked about that process and that intentional focus and how you want to dial out your day when it comes to training and have those different focuses there. That's how I'm oriented in the same way in business, being able to be dialed in, schedule calls, meetings, all these different things, and have that flow to where I'm on top of everything. And even when I'm in season, that's the same thing. Like obviously football's first and people respect that, but also at the same time, I respect that people can't always move around sports to understand that we're still running businesses over here. So I find time between meetings, sometimes during meetings, hitting people back in emails and all these different things.
Football meetings.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, like I mean, there's only so many ways you can play the three technique, and I've been in the league for 13 years. Like, bro, I get it. Like, and it's gonna take me. I can study and get it done, go implement it, and I mean, really, all I need is a walkthrough. I'm good, and then go from there. Like we're watching film. I tell my coaches, like, and I've had some dope coaches, especially Coach Casey, which we were down in Tampa outside this last year, the last 3 years. And he was like, man, Sue, what are you doing over there, man? You just always on your iPad and doing different stuff. I was like, Coach, man, I'm just working on some business over here. Just call on me when you need me, and I'll get you whatever answer you need, and I'll be on point from that standpoint. And over the 3 years, it evolved to where he's like, I'm not even worried about you.
He's not asking you no questions.
I'm not asking me no questions. He's leaving me be. Like, unless he's really trying to make a point and like get it across the entire room, like we're just cool. And I sit right next to him in the meeting room, and I'm not asleep. He ain't got to worry about me from any standpoint. So it's like being able to have that veteran viewpoint, but also to have like, no, he doesn't have to worry about me, and I can still get my stuff done and have that balance between the two.
So you sitting in the front of the meeting room?
No.
You in the back?
I sit in the back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
he's in the back.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So
okay.
he's in the back trying to watch who's falling asleep, who's not paying attention, and who I got to call on, all those different things. And he knows, like, all right, this man is taking care of some business, but at the same time, when he knows I need him, he's going to be ready to go.
Answering emails.
So
hey, that's good, man. I like that. Has it would you say it's been an advantage for you being a professional football player and also being a businessman? Or would you say there's also a disadvantage? I'm curious, just kind of.
I would say, if anything, there's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Because, one, the NFL, just the Shield in general, opens up a ton of doors. But doesn't mean you can walk through those doors just off the basis of that. So you got to be able to have that education and knowledge and willing to learn and put yourself in an uncomfortable position. But it opens a ton of doors for you. So I think it's a huge advantage from that perspective. But when you get through that door, you need to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm very big on priding myself on. And it's important. I don't want people to just look at me and say, oh, you're only in this room because you played in the NFL. Like, no, don't ever put me in that particular boat. That's not how I look at life.
Right. How are you able, when you say walk the walk and talk the talk, like how do you get there? You know, you sit in a bunch of different rooms. Like, what's your process on doing that?
Educate yourself, whether that's reading books, which I'm not a big fan on.
You don't read books, man.
Every now and then I'll read some books, some articles.
You're an article guy.
Things. I'm more of an article guy, yeah, for sure. Yes, we've had this debate, articles and experiences, as we've debated
and
before.
Experiences.
And then it comes down to internships, externships, just not being afraid to consider yourself the dumbest person in the room,
right,
and taking advantage of that, because people will love to tell you that information, and then you get free education from that standpoint. So that's how I've always done it and like to do it. And I mean, talking about PE firms, like I've got a great partnership with General Atlantic because I went and spent a week with them. I got to meet the CEO. I got to meet the chief operating officer. I got to meet all these different people from top to bottom in private equity. And now I have a relationship where I can do deals with them. I can do different stuff with them. They send me deals. Like they just sent me a deal the other day. And then on the flip side of that, doing internships at Nike, doing an internship at Related Group on the
Yeah.
real estate side of things. So being able to leverage those different pieces to better myself, and then in turn, it allows me to be in these rooms.
Yeah. And I found that people really respect that too, that, you know, you're a professional athlete, but, you know, willing to come into, you know, their space and their profession and essentially be a rookie again.
Yeah, and then it's the simplest thing. You show up on time, you ask questions. I'm not going to say good questions or bad questions because there's no such thing per se from their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions and just start to pick up on the lingo and the conversations that they're having, and then be immersed in it. Like, it's a low barrier of entry.
Right.
And the things that you can take that to the next level is so simple in my mind, but
Yeah.
a lot of guys just don't have the want to do it.
Right.
They just want things handed to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, in my experience, like when I was a rookie and coming out of, again, my master's at Stanford, you know, I was at Berkeley for 4 years, you know, and I love school. I'm a schoolboy, proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the league, it's like, you know, just doing football, I felt like I didn't have enough to do. Like my mind needed to be active on other things. And so I started getting curious in real estate. I was curious about starting a nonprofit. I was curious about creative and want to do all these things. But I also had this like piece of me that was holding me back. Is like, I don't want the league, I don't want executives, I don't want my organization to think that I'm not focused on ball.
Yeah, but that's what I had to break down. And that's something I probably should have done a little bit better, is saying, Coach Casey, like, bro, I have to do these things, because if you make me sit in this room and just do football and just look at this screen 24/7, 365, especially during camp, I'm going to go stir crazy. And you don't want that.
You don't want that.
You don't want that, because I'm going to be touching walls.
Yeah.
And it's not fun to be able to just do football. Being able to expand your brain and compartmentalize things, it puts you in a sharper space, because you dive in 1,000% when it's walkthrough, when it's practice, when it's important install meetings. And then you get to pull yourself out of that and go immerse yourself in something else. And it keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't think people really understand it. Granted, there are some players, unfortunately, that need all that 12 hours a day to go through install to get the game plan. I'm not one of those guys.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. But yeah, if I can't have some balance, like, you put me in a very, very tough position. And I used to butt heads with my DC, Gunther Cunningham. I mean, God rest his soul, because he just passed away a couple of years ago. But like, we would butt heads all the time. It's like, you just don't pay attention. You just don't pay attention. Like, Coach, like, where do I make mistakes on the field? He couldn't give me an answer. You don't make mistakes. Like, granted, yeah, there's some other things, technique stuff here and there, but when it comes to install, I'm not making mistakes. Coach, I need this time, like, to decompress from being away from football.
Yeah.
Then
right.
I can come back and sharp. And that how earlier on in my career it would be like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like Friday at noon, like when we were done with practice, I would not pick up anything with football until that Saturday night.
Yeah.
When
Till
we
the
went
meetings?
to night meetings.
Right. Yeah.
And he knows I'm in that back of that room. I'm not really paying attention, because it's too early for me to be diving into football again.
Right. Right.
But then when Sunday comes, it's time to show.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done all that pre-work, because I studied by myself on Monday, watching film, whoever the next game was after we decompressed from the previous game, also on Tuesday, and then we got the full game plan Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Right. Like, you're just overloading me. You're expecting me to go through. Yeah, exactly. You're trying to give me Monday through Sunday morning? That's just too much.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do something else.
Right. Right. I feel that. I mean, if your ability to do all of these different things, you have to have a high level of focus, and that high level of focus is what allows you to understand what you have to do from Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. So having those flex days, you know, allow yourself to kind of relax for a little bit. And
now it's like Tuesday evening through like Saturday night, or not, I mean Thursday night, because Friday, like I pull up, like Friday is what red zone install, most teams, field goal block, like some special team stuff here and there. I'm not doing too much special teams at this age anymore.
No,
Nah, even field goal
not
block.
covering no kicks.
Nah, I'll leave that to you. You're the expert on that one. So, but yeah, it's
Proud
just diving
teamer,
in
yeah.
and diving out.
Yeah. I feel like the league is slowly evolved in that way where players are now taking the reins on our business off the field.
Yeah.
But you've been in the league long enough where you've kind of seen that transition. You know, I came in 2016 and, you know, those were kind of the early days of like content and players, you know, there were no players with podcasts at that time, I don't think, you know, but like players taking control of their narratives and doing their own investments. This is all, the investment piece has kind of, I guess, been around for a while, but I guess so forward and front facing, you know, I'd see it more now than definitely when you were a rookie.
It's super embraced now, and for lack of better words, part of the culture in the locker room especially. But in 2010, dudes were trying to figure out what's in the game room to play video games during breaks. Like you get that 2-3 hour break between practice and lunch and all that stuff. Playing ping pong, doing all those different things, to where it's now transitioned to saying, all right, who's getting into this crypto deal? Who's getting into this real estate deal? Who's getting into this soccer team and whatnot? And like, I'm not on a team right now, and I got teammates sending me soccer deals and all types of stuff to help them look at, and what's your opinion of this and what's your opinion of that. And it's just a whole different culture in the locker room versus saying, all right, we're just here to hang out and have fun and potentially playing spike ball or playing these different games or cornhole or whatever it may be, to where now dudes are talking about business in between their free time between meetings. So it's definitely evolved, which I think is a good thing, and it can be a scary thing, because I think it's good for guys to grow in those different spaces and have those conversations with their peers, but also I'm sure there's plenty of bad deals that are being talked about as well. So
sure.
It's being able to kind of weave through those different things and understand like how we look at it from a perspective saying we're getting a lot of our deals from high quality people that do this every single day.
Yeah.
Versus some of our teammates or some people that are just saying, oh, this is a cool idea, I think you should throw some money into this.
The LinkedIn deals.
Yeah.
Deals that come through LinkedIn.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shift is really significant and powerful, especially in the past. Like historically, so many guys have gone broke after playing in the league and, you know, making millions of dollars and end up broke, you know, within 5 years of, you know, after being done playing. And that's because I think cultures of locker rooms have mostly been about, you know, what kind of car you drive and what kind of watch you wear and, you know, what's the chains look like, you know, all these kind of materialistic things. But now we're seeing those conversations shift more towards what type of deals are you investing in? How are you growing your money? How are you going from 1 to 2, right? Mm-hmm. And I think those are the conversations that, you know, we need to keep having in order to, you know, have people have a better transition from playing ball, you know, to being retired. And I think it's also important for, you know, the thought leaders in the space, you know, the pioneers, you know, which you would be one of them. And, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a pioneer, and I have a good understanding of how things are working, but sharing thoughts and being a thought leader and being vocal, being willing to share knowledge. I think that's one thing that you've done a great job of, at least with me. I've been able to learn so much from you. And now if I have a young dude that is showing any type of interest or curiosity about business, I'm like, you know, I'm really, you know, I take initiative, like, yo, I want to teach you, I want to help, you know, anything you need from me. If I can, you know, lend you a token of my knowledge or experience, I will do that. And then hopefully, you know, that guy goes and does it to the next one.
And it's that domino effect that you want to have. You want to be able to educate a younger guy. For somebody, for example, for you, for me, just touched 30, so I got 6 years on you. But I had older guys that taught me different things, and I was a little bit different because it wasn't really talked about in the locker room then. I think the only guy that I remember that was really talking about business my rookie year, my second year, was a guy named Don Muleback, if you know who that is. He was a long snapper. I think he got
the long snapper.
He got like 15, 16 years in the league.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with Jason Hanson. So some old school dudes in Detroit. And like, that was the only person I was talking to about business back in that day. And so I was going to more so outside people. But like for me, I have the interest and want to pass along the knowledge and be able to help say, here, this is my process. This is how I do it. You can implement it if you want to, or take this playbook if you want to, but at the same time make it your own.
Right.
You know, what's your interest, what you're into and whatnot. And so I've even thought about at times, just like, should there be like a small boutique of some sort that helps these young guys figure out their molds and their next steps of life and whatnot. And so it's always interesting, but I think I've always wanted to have, first and foremost, that one-on-one connection of like, you know how I am. Like, if I want to respect your time, I want you to respect my time. And if you can't do that, then there's nothing for us to sit here and talk about.
Right.
So,
I mean, I think the conversations actually for athletes are happening now in college.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to probably start to happen in high school too.
Yeah, I would say in high school already, because they're getting the NIL deals in high school.
Right.
Like Nike's signing high school kids right now.
Right.
And boys and girls, and saying, all right, you got your first NIL deal, and then you're a year away from going to college, and then you're going to get exploded with much more stuff, especially if you're in basketball or top football guy or top volleyball girl or whatever it may be, depending on the school. Like, you're getting $200,000-300K a year. Like, you got to have some form of financial literacy that goes into paying your taxes, all these different things, maybe setting up a small entity to run all this stuff through.
Right.
Like, all those little basic things. And again, talking about creating that team on the sports side, you got to be able to create that team on the business side of being able to have an attorney, tax attorneys, accountants, all these different particular pieces that are going to help you be successful. But you also need to know what each and one of them do and what they need to afford to you, so you can not get in trouble and not have any issues.
Right.
So that's where it's like, I don't know who it's with, or again, it could be a small boutique that helps these young kids. And then I look at it from perspective, like, I'm already successful in my own right. I could retire and do nothing, but so I don't need you. Versus a lot of people who are trying to get into that space are saying, oh, I'm trying to make a buck off of you, so then I can go get to the next person and go from that standpoint. So finding that little mix, I think it'd be interesting.
I think that's a good space for you to get into, man.
Maybe. We'll see.
A little foreshadowing here.
We'll see. We'll see if the wife lets me get into it with these kids.
I mean, I think that growing wealth used to be a conversation that that athletes would have once they went professional. And now you have, student athletes in college that are becoming millionaires in their college years. And so the thought process of how do I grow wealth is happening sooner. And maybe one day it'll be, high schoolers that are having that conversation. So, I mean, I think them being able to get the help and assistance and the support.
I mean, the main thing they do, you're going to college for free. Like, most of them are going to be on scholarships.
Yeah.
Just save.
I wouldn't be surprised if there will be the first like millionaire CEO of another business come in as a rookie. Like making $1 million in their business.
Yeah. Yep.
And then as a rookie signing an NFL, NBA contract. Right? Because like that's what, when you're a rookie and you're in the league and you start getting these checks from football and you trying to you want to flip, those and grow those, you start your business, and then hopefully that business grows to be $1 million, maybe gross or net revenue, whatever. That could happen in college for sure. Of these kids.
Yeah. Yep.
So they could be $1 million CEOs and also sign big contracts, and they'll be signed with Ndamukong Suh's boutique financial house.
We'll figure out what the name of that is. Maybe you can help me with some of that.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk. You had mentioned the boys earlier. You mentioned your wife, Katia, just now. Curious how you're thinking now about legacy, how, your boys are now, what, two years old?
Yep.
So, you have a family. How's your outlook changing? How's your perspective when you think about ball as you pursue the 14th year in the league, and also how you think about business and all of these different things?
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one, especially having 2-year-old boys that, especially my son. My son Kari he loves me to death, but he's kind of like, he doesn't mind being off on his own at times, or making sure he has his brother. But my son Kingston, especially, I mean, he will throw a temper tantrum when I leave the house. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Who you get that from?
Gotta be his mom. Like, I don't like. I definitely not me, but
Yeah, quick thing. Though. I was doing my research, and your rookie year, I think you hold the record now for on-field fines.
oh man, that's just because
I don't
I'm
know
too
if Kingston
athletic.
got them temper tantrums from somebody. It's probably you.
I'm too athletically gifted. Like, people just didn't understand. Like, all right, he's a freak from being able to run around, smack people, and like, it just looks bad. So let's just throw a flag.
It looked aggressive. It wasn't.
It was too aggressive. It happened in college too. Like, I remember we were playing in Baylor, and I didn't like, and I still don't like going to the ground, and so to tackle people. So I would just pick and slam, and so I slammed this quarterback that was playing for Baylor, and they threw a flag. I'm like, for what, bro? Tell me what I did wrong. Like, I grabbed him and I slammed him to the ground. It's like, it was just too aggressive. Aren't we playing an aggressive sport? Like, isn't this what we're supposed to do? Like, you wanted me to run through him and put all my weight on him? That's wrong too.
Right.
So it's like figuring those different pieces out. But getting back to the point of with the family and stuff, like, that is a big thing. Like, whether I want to get into playing football, because yes, it is something I still aspire to do and believe I can still play at a very, very high level. But the time that it takes away from my kids. Last year was amazing because Philly had an amazing schedule where I didn't have to go into the office till 8 o'clock. We were out at 4 most days. I think our longest day was 5. And it was very interesting to where, like, I got to spend 2-3 hours with my kids in the morning because they're early birds, go to work, come back, and I still get to have dinner with them. Depending on what team I would go to, like, do I have that same similar schedule? Because most teams are starting at 8 o'clock. So I'm in the office by 6, train and do all that stuff and start meetings. And then we're not getting out till 3 or 4. So I only get to see them in the evenings. And that's 2-3 hours before they got to go to bed and whatnot. And then, again, like, so much interesting, fun business stuff that I have outside of sports. Like, do I really want to, like, put some of that stuff on pause again? Or not pause, but slowing it down versus full throttle and then let football go. But my rule for this year was I'm not considering anything till camp's done. So I still got another 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. There we go. But we're training every morning.
Gonna be
training
fit.
Hard.
Gonna be fit and be ready to go at any point, any moment's notice.
I ain't waiting until training camp. So if anybody wants to come holler at the kid, and I don't have that same timeline that's him, come holler at me.
Yeah. Make sure you go get you a quality guy and be Scar.
Come on now. All right, we're gonna dive into our high quality questions segment of the show. Rapid fire.
Okay.
Give a thoughtful response though.
Always.
Question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. Be patient. Plain and simple. Be patient. And I've realized that more and more in business, like, especially doing deals, doing partnerships, patience is key.
Time is our ally. What's an album you can listen to with no skips? Go ahead.
I mean, I'm anti.
By who?
Rihanna. Who else?
All right. What was your favorite place to shop in middle school?
Oh, easy. Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah.
Fire.
What were you copping?
Rockaware, Sean John, FUBU, all that.
South Pole?
I don't know. I did a little bit South Pole,
Echo?
Echo's a little too expensive, so I only maybe had like 1 or 2 shirts there. But yeah. And then Lugs, boots.
You was a Lugs guy?
Yeah, got me a fresh pair.
The wheat color?
Nah, all black so I could shine them down.
That's wild. Hey, we need some photos, bro.
I don't know where we'd have photos. We have to look at some bids if my mom
You
still
said
has
shine
them.
them down? What does
Yeah.
that even mean?
So they're like black. And then like if you got some scuffs on them, you could put a little grease on them and then to get them right black again.
Shine them down.
Yeah.
Hey, that is funny, bro.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. Okay. If you could take a shot with any athlete or celebrity, who would it be and what would it be a shot of?
Tequila all day. And it's got to be some great stuff. You want the bottle of tequila too?
We could be specific.
Probably do Dos Artes.
Okay.
Tequila.
Is that an añejo?
Extra añejo, boss. Come on now.
Extra añejo. Come on.
Step your game
Come
up.
on.
I didn't touch you better than that. And then celebrity. We just taking one shot or we take multiple shots? Entertainer, like
It could be multiple shots. I like that. Multiple shots. We're turning
I
up.
think me and Obama turn up.
Ooh, that's tight.
Yeah, me
That's
and
a
Obama
good
got to
one.
turn up.
I bet Obama's a great time
Yeah, I can
after
see
a
that.
few shots.
A little cigar action, little hoops, and
That's
some
tight.
tequila.
What's your biggest football ick?
Biggest football ick. So clarification is ick is dislike.
Yes. Yes.
That's an interesting one. I mean, I could give you a blanket statement of one, which would be camp. Camp. The first 2 weeks of camp is icky left and
Icky.
right. Especially if you're in Miami or Tampa,
Houston.
Houston, any of them hot places. But if I want to give you something more specific, I would probably say the wasted time between the end of practice and your afternoon meetings. That is my biggest pet peeve in football. Why do the coaches need to go and watch the film together and then come watch the film again with the players? Why don't we just watch this all together and then y'all go do your 10 hours of being in the office, which y'all are going to be there regardless. Like, let's just go knock this out and then keep it pushing. So that block
That's a
of
fact.
2-3 hours that we just got to sit there and do nothing, like, I make it useful now because I got Zooms and different stuff like that. But yeah, that little block period of time after practice before afternoon, evening meetings kills.
So you the guy when they like, how much time y'all need before meetings after practice? You like, man, let's go right now. 10 minutes.
I say
You only- we
no.
want
I
10
say
minutes to
I say
shower and get in
I
there.
say 30 minutes. I want to shower, cool off a little bit, and then go right into the meeting room.
Yeah. See, I'm the type of guy, after practice, I'm sitting in front of my locker for a smooth 30.
Yeah, just
sitting
wasting
there.
time.
Just sitting.
Wasting time.
Soaking it all in.
Wasting
God
time.
damn, that shit was hot today.
Yeah, exactly. All y'all just sitting there.
Like-
Then you
like
start
if I could
throwing
smoke a
dice.
cigarette right there, I probably would. God damn, that was a day.
Yeah, nah, that is terrible. So much wasted time. You
I
know
got
how
a
much
good-
things I can get done in that short period of time.
Yeah. A lot more than just sitting in your locker.
Yeah,
Like I do. You know, a big football ick is before practice, the shitters. The toilet stalls, there's a line typically.
why though?
I mean, guys, it's after breakfast, it's before practice. Like, everybody's got to shit before we go out to practice.
I don't have that
And
issue.
I mean, icky.
I mean, first of all, what's icky is not being the first person to use the bathroom in the morning, and then everything after that, not an option.
Bro, you're waiting in the line. And
Not
you're
enough.
the next one up, and you're just waiting for someone to come out of the stall. If you see an offensive lineman or a D line, if you're seeing anything over 300 walk out the stall, fuck. All right. Hey.
So I'm gonna put you on some game.
You'd rather be a DB or a receiver.
I'm gonna put you on some game. This is what I do. If I, God forbid, I have to use the bathroom before practice or any time after, I'd say time-wise 8:30 in the morning or 8:30 in the morning in a football facility, I'm going to the coach's locker room, the executive locker room. I'm going to every other the business,
the
room.
owner's suite, the owner's
I'm not going that far. But I'm using any other bathroom, other than the team locker room bathroom.
I feel you, bro.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's a terrible smell.
No chance.
Well, hey man, that was a hell of a conversation. I appreciate you coming on to another episode of B-Scar TV.
I appreciate the invitation. I look forward to hopefully in the future we can talk about some more interesting stuff.
No doubt, man. We'll make it a little series, a series,
boss.
And there you have it, folks. Another episode of B-Scar TV. Please give us a comment, give us a rating, give us a like, give us some feedback, some constructive criticism. We're on the pursuit of high quality content, and high quality content is an endless pursuit. Peace. This episode of B-Scar TV has been brought to you by Scarlett Creative. For the full-length video episode and more content, find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at B-Scar TV. And please, leave us a review. Drop a comment. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? We would love to hear from you. This is your host, with the most, Brennan Scarlett, signing off. Peace.